Welcome everyone to another episode of the Slasher Vidcast. I'm your host Steven, and joining me again is my good friend Dougie. Shall I call you Dougie? Is that what we said? We said that, didn't we?
Yeah, well, whatever you want.
And yeah, we are recording this on the same day as episode 1, but that's what you do, don't you? So we're here today to talk about this franchise, the Halloween franchise. We're going to go through movie by movie. We're not going to give you blow by blow of what happens, of the box office, because you probably know all that, and you don't care, maybe. If you've seen them, you're going to know how these movies end. If you haven't seen them, there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So,
and where have you been?
So I think the best place to start is, before we go movie by movie, what was the first Halloween movie you watched, and can you remember? Or what's your earliest memory of watching Halloween? Any of them, not just the first one, by the way.
I'll probably say the one that I remember probably most will be 6.
Yeah.
Because I think that was the one I enjoyed.
I think our dad recorded that, right?
I think so, yeah.
And I think that's how I first saw it. Again,
it was on. It must have been on Sky Movies or something back in the day. And I think I do remember that one has been the one that I remember the most. I mean, 1 I remember seeing anyway, but I think 6 was always the one that I've always remembered.
Do you think we saw 6 first?
Probably not.
Remember? Right.
Probably not. I probably saw the first one. Them ones particularly.
Yeah,
maybe the first.
Yeah.
It's only over the maybe 2 years ago I saw 3 for the first time. So.
Oh really?
That's been out for God knows how long, and it's only about 2 years ago I actually sat down and watched 3 for the first time.
Oh my
ever.
God. I didn't even know that.
I've never been interested in. It's not got Michael in. I was never interested in watching it.
I get that. I've got a little story on that, but I'll obviously get into it.
I enjoyed it.
It's actually a very good film, and I think now that people have kind of grown up, and how many Michael Myers movies is there? Don't matter that one doesn't have him in, does it? People love that movie on its own merits, and I think maybe what the problem was with it was it should have come out as like a Halloween story, Season of the Witch, not Halloween 3, Season of the Witch. And
it's a bit misleading, isn't it, by the title?
But I think at the time, and people have to remember, it was only really in the 80s that sequels really started to become a thing. And I think we're used to franchises now, because look at Marvel, it's like one giant franchise in it, same with like DC and stuff. So we're used to kind of franchises now, like how many Indiana Jones films is there, how many James Bond films is there? Really, there was probably only Bond at the time that was franchised. I don't think anything else really was in like the 80s. It wasn't until you started to get these sequels like Superman 2, Indiana Jones. I can't know which order Indiana Jones films are going. I'm not like an expert on those.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapons, all these films that came out and started to make, and obviously Friday the 13th, which was like Saw was a couple of years ago. There was new one every year and stuff, and nowadays you probably say it's The Purge. There's a new Purge film every year.
Yeah, The Purge. I like The Purge.
I like The Purge as well. Like
I've not seen the new one
and stuff. And
I've not seen the new one as yet, but
no,
that won't be as good as the other ones.
Probably not. No, which usually we talked about before was the case with sequels. But yeah, with Halloween, I think which we'll obviously get more into 3 when we get to it. I think that was obviously a thing. But yeah, for me, obviously, it was the first Halloween, as I said on the last episode. Like I watched it with my dad on BBC One. He said you'd really like this. You really enjoy it. I just remember thinking Michael was so cool, like with the white mask and stuff, and I just loved it. And again, it didn't scare me. I was obviously tense in the moments when he's chasing after people and stuff and all that kind of thing. So maybe on that we should just lead into the first one then. So like, what are like some of your favorite moments in the first one, and how do you feel like? Do you think he's aged well?
I think it's got that old. It's got that old style.
It's very much set in the 70s.
Yeah, it's got that old style feel. I think it's still. I think probably back in the 70s, I found horror to be a bit more creepier. I think now it's a bit more. I think it did make you jump, to be fair, but I think more. They look more at what the horror looks like now.
I think horror took its time back in the day, where I don't think it takes its time anymore. You do get films that do, like the odd one, but horror doesn't. Like I watched that Malignant the other day, which I didn't like, but that was just non-stop pace. Like
I think it's a steady. The first one's a really steady build-up, and I think it's a film for younger people that have not really seen it. you need to stick with it, because at the start, is, you've got the kid doing the Halloween sort of nursery rhyme at the beginning of the film, and it cuts straight in, and that's a brilliant. And you've also got the music, which is iconic. I think
John Carpenter.
You've just got to stick with it, because it is quite slow. It's a bit of a slow burner, but that's why it's so good. Because it builds up.
I think why it works so well, because it is obviously a slow paced film. And obviously, it's my favorite horror film of all time. I'm just gonna tell you right now. I think it's a timeless classic, but I could understand, like, if somebody in the modern generation who has watched stuff like Saw and stuff would watch it and be like, "This is so slow," and like, because really until you get to the last like 30 minutes, there's not really a lot going on in terms of like killing and stuff. Like, you get to like Friday the 13th part 6, and he's killing someone every 5 minutes. Not in the first one.
Blood as well, is there, if any?
There's hardly any. There's very little. It's very little. There is a little bit, but I think for me, it's the perfect slasher film, and you can see why this one was the one that people copied, because it kind of sets the template of like, you've got to have like a final girl, and I think that's something that happened in the mid-80s where the final girls and the actors started to get worse. They kind of forgot you need to have a compelling lead, and Jamie Lee Curtis, for me, who is probably the most iconic screen queen, is the perfect final girl. And she obviously did a lot of films where she was the final girl. She did like Prom Night, Territory, and Halloween 2 as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, for me, I think it is like that perfect template. Now, what's funny is it gets credited as the first slasher, but it wasn't, because there were films before. You could even technically say Psycho is a slasher, but obviously that was years before, and that is a film of its own type as well, because they did things that you just didn't see at the time in films. But there was a film called Black Christmas in 1974, and that is actually the slasher. Like, literally, you go through the book of slasher, what to do, what not to do. Black Christmas, it's all in there. But a lot of people haven't seen that movie, or it's just that old they don't want to touch it. And that has aged, that film. It's still a good film. But Halloween, I think, has aged that little bit better. And I think because Halloween inspired Friday the 13th, and Friday the 13th kind of inspired the clones. It was almost like Friday the 13th was like the brother of Halloween, and then suddenly there was all these. Somebody cloned it, but the clones kept coming out worse and worse, and
all distant cousins start coming out.
Yeah, maybe distant cousins would be a better one. Although don't tell Michael, he might try and kill him. So I think for me, like, there's many iconic moments, and what's funny to me is, because you've obviously seen the trailer for Halloween Kills, haven't you, where it looks like his mask comes off. People are going mad about it. He gets his mask taken off in the first film. As a kid and as an adult, because he gets stabbed. He gets stabbed after she takes the mask off, doesn't she, on top of the stairs? So it's kind of funny to me that people kind of are so outraged about Michael losing his mask today, and you're like, well, they did it already in the first film. So it's not like a new thing. It's actually very much in keeping with it. So I don't know what we can really say about the first one that hasn't already been said, because it is so.
And I think one thing you could say to why it's still known as a classic movie is it's still spoke about, and it's still on TV.
Yeah.
And every Halloween, there's been loads of films that come out Halloween that no one's really interested in, but this one is still shown every Halloween, always on. So I think, credit to likes of John Carpenter and the people that actually made the movie. That film is, in another 20 years, it will probably still be the iconic.
Yeah, it's going to be one of those.
Movie.
Yeah,
it'll still be going, and I think that's the sign of a really good film.
And you think about the new trilogy that they're doing, that is following on from the first one, and the fact that made so much money, you think, well, it shows you how much people love that film, because there's been a lot of bad sequels and stuff that could have killed any franchise, including reboots, that weren't necessarily loved. Yeah, he's managed to do a sequel to a film, all those films back, and it's made a lot of money and people love it. So it kind of does make you think, doesn't it? Like, that is how it almost is, you wonder, could they do it with Friday the 13th and do a sequel to the first one or something? Maybe that. I'm not saying that's what they're going to do. It will probably. I think when you're an iconic film like Michael Keaton's coming back as Batman next year, and people are really excited about it. People remember that film, and I think when you do something iconic, that's kind of how it works. So then obviously Friday the 13th came out, which we've got to talk about, because that changed the genre. It made gore became a thing. You know, it became basically it became the magic trick then. Like, how can we shock the audience with seeing things? And then so when Halloween 2 came out and Rick Rosenthal directed it, John Carpenter wasn't happy with is your cat singing again or something?
Yeah, it took a run towards me, but
right.
he got caught.
You think you were going to get jumped on?
He got caught halfway through.
But then you get to Halloween 2 and it's like John Carpenter was like, well, we need to put gore in this now because that's what the audience wants. And people kind of go back and go, oh, they should have kept it, but it probably wouldn't have done as well. And the highest grossing horror film of 1981 was Halloween 2. So it showed you people then knew what Halloween was and were into it. So I remember watching Halloween 2 at your house again. There's going to be so many films I watched at your house. And I remember thinking it was quite boring at the time. And I think it was because we had a really bad quality VHS and it wasn't a fake. It was just a bad transfer. And I remember it just made the film sit and you could hardly hear the music or the speaking or anything. I remember we had to turn it right up to hear it and it just wasn't.
Yeah, it's probably...
Obviously now, I would probably say Halloween 2 is my favourite Halloween sequel, but it's like back then, when I watched it then, I was like, well, this is boring.
But as I said on the previous podcast, it's when you watch it when you're younger, you probably don't appreciate it. But then when you watch it as you're older, you understand it a bit more.
The suspense and all that sort of stuff. Yeah.
The films I've seen, I never like that. But now when I've watched it,
it's happened to me, yeah. But
like
don't you think as well, like, there's something to be said about quality of watching it? Like, nowadays we can watch like Blu-ray in HD and stuff, and while quality isn't the be-all and end-all, sometimes when you watch a film with the sound's the right level and the picture's so good, it does kind of bring you in a bit more. Where if we watched a rubbish transfer of a film back in the day, you can kind of see why we might have thought it wasn't that good.
Yeah, you're not seeing the full picture of exactly how it looks. And
which is important.
That could look really dark on a video.
Yeah.
Actually, isn't as dark as you actually think.
Yeah.
And you probably could see people a lot better as well. Because he's quite a dark character, and he always is. He's always in the shadow as well, and it makes it even more difficult then.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. One of the things Halloween 2 gets criticised for is Laurie Strode being in a bed for most of it, which I believe was because she was filming The Fog at the time, and they only had her for certain days.
Oh. I think just for a rigmarole. So what?
Yeah, but I kind of think it works because you follow the character you're following. Halloween 2 really is Loomis, who I'm just going to say right now, the ending, he's dead at the end. I know they brought him back in 4. But you would not survive that explosion. But we don't care. We'll just go with it.
Do you think it sort of becomes the second one a bit more like a chasing the bad guy sort of film where Loomis is trying to find him and see where he is? And
do you know what? That he did that in the first one. Basically, Loomis is Van Helsing, right? After Dracula.
Yeah.
But I think the difference between 1 and 2 is Loomis is because Loomis was on. I think Pleasance was only on set for a couple of days. Whereas in the second one, he was there for the whole shoot. I almost wondered if it was like that first one. They didn't have time to have more scenes of him. So you only got these expository, I can't really speak, expository scenes where he's like, he's pure evil and all that. And they kind of ramp it up in the second one. Yeah,
because I think in the first one, he's sort of introducing the character of, this is what he's like. This is what he could be like. And in the second one, everything he says he's now doing everything he said.
Yeah.
And that's why I think it was more of an introduction to what he thought Michael Myers was. And then he's actually then chasing him then.
I think Loomis, we talk about Loomis gets a bit crazier in sequels. I think this is the first signs of crazy Loomis, where it's kind of, you think he's not all there himself.
Which he probably isn't.
No, I don't think he is.
If
you're doing that job, you're probably not going to be here. Obviously, there's some over the top bits, like when Ben Tramer gets killed by that car, and that cop's like, he came out of nowhere, and it's like, how fast were you going, man?
Is that when he kills that kid gets killed?
Yeah, that's Ben Tramer. Yeah, Ben Tramer that was mentioned in the first one. Yeah. He gets hit by the car. It's like it suddenly turns into an action movie, and you're like, what's going on?
That Michael Myers, like, what is that car chasing?
One of the things I've always loved, the state trooper that's there to take Loomis back. Loomis used to do, what does he do? Fire a warning shot and shoots him. And then Loomis is like, again, he's just like, yeah, whatever. And you can just tell he hates his job. He just don't know. But I think Michael in this one, in some ways, there's parts of 2 I like more than the first one. Like, I think Michael's a bit more Terminator-like in this one, which is crazy because I don't think the Terminator was that. No, the Terminator didn't cancel its 4, did it? But it's a bit more like that about him, and I think he's a bit more. Obviously, he's unkillable in the first one, but he just takes 6 shots at the end, disappears. This one, he goes through, gets a lot more like punishment. Like, he gets shot in the eyes, and he's still not dead. You
sort of realise that he's not. You sort of realise as the film's going on, actually, because you could find in the first one that you start thinking he's just a really mad serial killer, but then as it goes along, you start thinking actually there's something really not right with him because he's just not in.
And in the first one, you kind of think as well, like Loomis is kind of like the worst kind of doctor ever because he thinks this kid is just evil incarnate. But then the second one, you realise, right, he is.
But he's injured. But he's injured though. I mean, like in the second one, he does have blood on his hands.
Oh yeah, he does,
which sometimes a lot of other movies you probably won't see that. He'd probably be all right again.
Yeah.
I like how it shows that he's wounded because they keep finding blood everywhere. And I like that, and that's one.
Yeah, I do. Yeah, I actually think the best part of 2 is the beginning when he's just out there and he kills that girl in her apartment and stuff.
Yeah,
I just love that. There's something scary about he's just out there and we don't know where the hell he is. And obviously, the film about 30 minutes in goes to the hospital, which becomes the main crux of the plot. But I always thought that first bit was like the scariest, but going to the hospital, the best kill is when he kills that nurse and he just picks her up. I think it's with a scalpel as well, isn't it? And the clogs fall off. That is one of my favourite kills in like the entire franchise.
Did he burn one of the nurses in like a hot room, like a thingy room out there?
Yeah.
Did he put a face into water?
I forgot about that. Well, we should talk about Bud, one of the best characters in the Halloween franchise for me. He's a bit. He just wants to go bang this nurse, don't he? That's why. Amazing Grace, come sit on my face. He's singing in here. But that's a great moment. That's probably the iconic kill of the film, I would guess, because. And I remember Dick Warlock, who played Michael, said that was his favourite kill, and everyone was like, "Oh, is it because you could see it?" He's like, "Oh no, I couldn't see it on the day." He goes, "But then I watched it in the cinema, and oh boy." And then I think the ending. We'll just talk about the ending. He's dead. Loomis is dead. Obviously, retcons later. I can see why the thought, and again, we know John Carpenter, he had to drink lots of beer to write the script because he basically said he didn't have an idea. And it obviously brings in the sister element. I mean, I never minded the family element, and I actually think Halloween 2018, getting rid of it was kind of pointless because, I mean, I get why they did. It makes it pure, but at the end of the day, Laurie Strode and Michael still clash at the end. So
is he not known as his sister in the latest one? Halloween.
It's a sequel to the first one, because the original concept was that Michael saw this girl and he became fixated on her, and it was almost like she reminded him of his sister, but no, it wasn't his sister.
They're not family, though.
In the first one, they're not related at all. It became a thing in the second one. It was like a retcon.
So in the new one, before Halloween Kills comes out, so so they're not related. Yes, so they're not related at all. So why is he chasing them?
He actually doesn't, because what happens in Halloween 2018 is the events lead Michael to where she lives. If you actually watch the film, that crazy doctor, he's the one who kind of leads it to, because he thinks the key to figuring out what Michael is through Laurie. So he leads Michael to her house technically because he takes her granddaughter there, doesn't he? But no, they're not brother and sister in the new film. Oh. There's even a line about it. One of the kids says, "No, it's something somebody made up."
Yeah. Do you know? I was about to say, the podcast is asking if you're actually related.
No, it's not them. It's the granddaughter and her friends.
Right.
Which Halloween 2018, which we'll get to. He's trying to kind of say it's ignoring all the sequels, but it does a great job of referencing them consistently to the point where you're like, you might as well just bring another sequel. But we'll get there. Halloween 3 then. So I'll start on this one. I always knew it was the one without Michael Myers, so it never bothered me. If Michael if I'd have, like, I got it back in the day, people went in thinking Michael was going to be in it. And it's not like now where the trailer's on YouTube and you can just go watch it. Back then, they saw a trailer or a pic. Sometimes it would just be a poster and the thing and have Pumpkin on it, Halloween 3. I get people going in and saying, oh, no, Michael, I can't do with this. Knowing Michael wasn't in it, knowing it was the one about Michael Myers, I just watched it as its own film and I enjoyed it. I've always enjoyed it. And I think in terms of like the holiday feel, it's probably got a better holiday feel than any of the Halloween films.
Yeah, because it's more like
it's about the holiday, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's set around masks, isn't it? So everyone like with Halloween, everyone sort of.
If you break that plot down and it sounds stupid, but it kind of works when you watch.
Them sort of films are sort of do work, don't they? Especially for what it is. It's a horror movie, and I think you can get away with a lot of. To be fair, nowadays, and whether you'd be able to get away with it now might be maybe a bit more difficult.
Well, obviously the Halloween Ends is supposed to be the last of the Laurie Strode versus Michael Myers stuff. So I imagine if we get another Halloween, which Blumhouse has said they're open to do more, it would be a new reboot, not necessarily an origin, but like a reboot where it's like Michael escapes Smith Grove, and then goes after someone. That's why I imagine a new one be. But a lot of people are saying maybe they should go back and revisit the anthology idea. I don't think that's a good idea because I don't think you can advertise a film as Halloween and not have Michael Myers in it. But I think what you could do is make a Halloween TV series or something that does that, or a series of films that are like a Halloween story. So those ones don't have Michael in. A bit like the Rogue One Star Wars story. You knew that didn't have Luke Skywalker and all that in, but it was in that world. You could maybe do something like that, but I don't think you could necessarily do Halloween Season of the Witch 2 or something now. I think it'd be a bit like.
Yeah, I think, and plus I think nowadays, if you're going to make a Halloween movie, everybody wants to have Michael in, and I think
they learned the hard way, didn't they? Yeah.
Yeah, I think if he didn't,
the funny thing is, the film did not flop. The film did very well. In fact, the fourth film that brought Michael back only made a little bit more than the third one.
I get why they did it because it's well, did they always have the intention of bringing Michael back for another one? No.
John Carpenter, because John Carpenter was still involved in the series at this point. Him and Deborah Hill on the rights, along with Mustafa Akkad. So they were like, right, what we're going to do is we're going to remove Michael Myers' story's over. We'll do Halloween 3 season. Then it was going to be Halloween 4, and that would be a completely new story set on Halloween about something else. But the funny thing is, they did, when they went back to do a Halloween 4, Mustafa was like, we've got to bring Michael back because everyone was peed off. So they did it. They did write a script, and I can't remember what it's called now. But the idea is that the spirit of Michael comes back, and it's like how this town moves on. And like it gets a bit crazy, and like Michael grows to like 12 feet tall or something. But he's not Michael; it's like the spirit of Michael. It's actually a really interesting script, but it's got Tommy Doyle and Lindsay Wallace in it. But Mustafa Akkad was like, I don't want that. And then when you do get to Halloween 4 is basically Halloween 1 again in a respect, but it's like an action version of Halloween 1.
Yeah.
So, but Halloween 3, I mean, have you got what are your thoughts on that film like now? And did you like it? Did you say?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's really recent. Well, I'd say the last 2 years when I actually watched it. So I don't really have an amazing memory of it because I said I've only ever seen it once and I've not watched it again. So like with
you should watch it this year.
Yeah, it's like the other ones I've seen continuously over the years, but like with that one I've only watched it once. But I like that there's a bit of it goes into like a really weird town, doesn't he? Where, if I'm right, it's like a really weird sort of town that he goes to, and I like the masks. I think the masks.
They came back in the new one, didn't they? As well, they're going to be in the next one.
Oh, they are, right?
Yeah, they sort of kind of merged that aspect of it into the new world, basically.
But yeah, I liked it. I did like it. Like I said, there's not really much I can say about it because I've only ever seen it once, so I'm just trying to do things off memory.
I will say this, right, because the first three have got cinematography by Dean Cundey, who did Halloween 1, Halloween 2, Halloween 3. They all feel like the part of the set. You could tell they're very Carpenter-esque. Even 3, which he didn't direct, but he did the music for. They're all got that much Carpenter feel, and I think 4 loses that feel. It gets like a new feel that I like, but it loses the Carpenter feel. And then
Michael is in 3 though, is it? Because it's a trio.
Yeah. I mean, do you know an idea I've always thought they could have done? Because there's like these robot people. One of the robot people could have just had a Michael Myers mask. He could have done something like that, you know. Obviously, that's looking back now, but moving on to Halloween 4, because I don't want to get too pressed for time. Halloween 4, I can see why this movie was so popular back in the day, because it's like, do you know, like every horror franchise has what I call like the accessible one, where you could show it to somebody who's not really into it and they'd enjoy it. I think Jason Lives for Jason is that, where it's like a fun film to watch, so you don't really have to be into it. Dream Warriors talked about on the last episode, and I think Halloween 4 is that for Halloween, where it's almost like an MTV movie, where it's like it's fast paced, it's fun, the atmosphere is there, the music again, brilliant. Alan Howarth came back; he worked on Halloween 2 and 3 as well. Obviously, there's issues with the mask, which happens in all the sequels, but
is the mask really white?
The problem, so the mask is the same. It's a William Shatner mask. It's the same as the first 3, but when they got it back from Don Post, who did they got it back and it was pink for some reason. And they were like, so they had to paint it. So obviously, whatever paint they used, they must have used not the same paint that Tommy Lee Wallace used when he did the first mask. Because the mask in 1 and 2 are the same mask. It just looks different because it's older and it's on a bigger head.
The third one, isn't it?
It's
extremely different.
The 4th one. Yeah, not the 3rd one.
4th one. Sorry, yeah.
The 3rd
it is extremely different.
But you know why it don't bother me? Because I'm like, he gets a new mask. He goes into a store and he gets a new mask, so it makes sense. Whereas in 5, when it's supposed to be the same mask as 4 and it looks completely different, you're like, that don't make any sense. But 4 for me is the fun one, and I think I always watch 3 and 4 back to back. It's like a thing I do. Like I watch like the old style and the new style kind of clash together basically. So, but what are your thoughts on?
The opening credits are really good for Halloween 4. Yeah. It has that real Halloween sort of style.
Feels like
doesn't it? And it feels like really creepy, as if something's going to happen on this particular day.
I've heard people complain that he doesn't have a pumpkin opening like the other ones, but what the director said was he wanted to kind of give it a new feel because it's a new era, and I think end of the day, we've had the pumpkin opening on so many of them. Why not have something different? And for me, like that opening works so well, and it's like when the Halloween theme does kick in later, when they're taking Michael out of the hospital, it's like this adrenaline rush because it's here now. So, but obviously in this they had Michael going after his niece now because obviously Jamie Lee Curtis didn't want to come back, which understandable. She kind of moved on from horror at that point. She was doing like Trading Places and stuff like that. So for me that whole idea was brilliant. I thought, what a clever idea! Like it's the daughter of Laurie Strode. That
it's always annoying, isn't it, when you watch things? Why are you moving him?
Yeah.
Why are you moving him?
No, it's like day before Halloween. Sorry, isn't it? Yeah.
It's like he's been so quiet for all these years, and now you're deciding. I'll tell you what, let's move him somewhere.
But what's funny is he's all comatose until one of the nurses or something goes, "Oh yeah, he's got a niece downtown." You just see his fist go.
What do they say? How long is it set after the? Because most
10 years
from the second one.
Yeah, because the second one's set on the same night as the first one.
Okay, so it's 10. So he's been wherever he is. Then he's been in that room where he's tight for 10 years.
Yeah.
This is funny. Where's
it? You just gotta go with it, man. And then Loomis comes out of his burns and he's like got a little bit here and a little bit of that. But I can kind of go with it because I'm like, well, you don't know. I've seen explosions where people have been blasted that far away from the explosion have not actually got that hurt because. So maybe you can kind of make a little bit of a thing.
I didn't know unless it actually tells you. Does it tell you in the film that it's 10 years?
I think it gets mentioned, but there's also like the trailer did. The trailer was like 10 years ago. Today.
For me, I just thought it was a couple of. That's why it's surprising when you said that because I thought it was sort of set a couple of days after the second one because he's burnt. I'm thinking, right.
Oh no! Well,
got him. They put him in there.
This is how you know he's evil, because like anyone else, if they lay down in a bed for 10 years, would not be able to walk because your limbs won't work. But Michael is obviously not human. He is, but he isn't. It's weird. It's almost like he's got a human. I always saw Michael as he's evil incarnate, and he's got a human vessel. That's all it is. So he's a little bit supernatural, but it's not to the point where it gets. I mean, it gets ridiculous in this series, but we'll get to that. But yeah, I'll just talk about the ending before we go on. So I think of all the Halloweens, this has got the best ending. I think Jamie killing retcon the next one. Her mother, with the clown costume on, it goes full circle. You're almost like, that's a perfect. You could have ended at Halloween 4 and you'd have had a perfect like quadrant trilogy there, because you've got like the evil is reborn. That's the ending, and it's almost like the cycle will always go on.
Yeah, because it's like you always wonder in the first one, why did he do that? Why did he do that? And then in the fourth one, you think, why did she do that? So you get that same feeling when you're watching the first one, the beginning of the first one, and the end of the fourth one. You're thinking, why on earth is it? And then you've got like Donald's going, oh, and he's like, calm down. But yeah,
no, but it's a crazy ending.
It's a freaky ending. Probably the freakiest out of a lot, to be fair.
I honestly think if you actually go through all that, I mean, I think the ending of the first film is brilliant, where he's gone and he's out there and you can hear him breathing. But the ending of this one, I'm like, it brings everything full circle. And if this had been the last Halloween film, you could almost be like, that's like a nice set of movies.
Is it the fourth one where he gets blown up by all bloody police and army?
Yeah, that's how it ends. He gets shot. Yeah. He gets shot at the end, yeah. And then you get to Halloween 5.
Actually, I don't mind Halloween 5.
Oh, God.
To be
Have
fair,
you went last time? It's so bad, man. Do you know? Can I tell you some of the things I don't like about it, right? So, the tonal change from 4 is massive. It doesn't feel like the same world or anything. Killed Rachel off, one of the best characters in the 4th one. She gets killed off in the first 20 minutes. And instead, you're stuck with this girl, Tina, who's annoying as hell. It doesn't make sense when Michael gets shot. He ends up... Fair enough, he goes down the well and he gets dropped into this little stream. This hermit finds him and he's there for a year. With this hermit for a full year.
When he takes a break, Michael, he takes a break, doesn't
he? That's stupid. I mean, what's better to explain where he's been is just don't say anything. Just write his back, it's a year later. Don't give an explanation.
But I think people like that explanation. I mean, sometimes that's where it ruins it sometimes, when people want that explanation for his being, and I think sometimes that can be a real blow. That, as you just said, I don't mind it. To be fair, I don't mind it. Again, I didn't know it was a year.
I think the guy who did 5 would have been way more suited to Friday the 13th, because he was more interested in like the gore and stuff. And basically, the mask looks different, and the mask is awful. This is the worst mask of the series, in my opinion, apart from the second Rob Zombie one where it's half a mask. But he's got, we'll get to that. He's got like this, this horrible mask, and it's like the director, when they asked him why it was different, he just said, because does he say something like I had a vision or something like that. And it's like, all right, yeah. Did you watch the last one? We're all right for tanks. I've got a little bit longer. I didn't leave till 20. So yeah, there's that as well. Some of the kills are quite decent, but again, it turns into not Michael. The bit in the car where she kisses him and stuff when he drives, I'm like, what is this? Why is Michael doing this? They unmask Michael, and you can clearly see there's no burns on him. You can't see him that clearly, it's in the background. And then there's the catch him in a net at the end and put him in jail, his mask on. It's just like...
It's like Batman signed courtroom, innit?
yeah, in Batman Forever.
In his suit.
So yeah, have you got anything else to say on this one before we move on to 6?
Yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think the 5th one's where they're all in the house, out of the lights bright, and they're in that big house, and he's going to chase them in the house.
Oh
yeah,
that was the other thing. The Myers house is a castle basically in this one.
Yeah,
because the director had a vision.
Is that when Donald? Is that when he gets thrown through a window? Not to Loomis, so is that the?
No, he gets thrown through a window. You might get thrown through a window in both. To be fair, I can't remember.
But yeah, to be fair, with 4 and 5, they're not ones that really spring to mind with me. But as you were talking about 4, I was like, I remember that. But 5, I'm a little bit vacant. To be fair, maybe that's probably why.
Maybe maybe subconsciously you've not watched it a lot.
I remember like the Jamie can't speak.
Yeah, that's awful. That was just like what's going on.
And they go to that barn, don't they? Go to kill something in the barn, don't he?
Halloween 5's biggest problem is they rushed it. They should have just took a few years and done it properly. Because for me, the next logical step would be she would sort of start to become not the killer, but become. It would be about getting her back from being evil. That would be my story, and Michael would come back again. And it would almost be like Satan and his little helper type thing, but she's kind of fighting to not be evil. That's what I would have done anyway. But then you get to 6.
Yeah, 6 of them.
And 6 has its problems, as we know. Like the whole Man in Black thing's stupid. But that's the problem with 5, because 5 put the Man in Black in. They didn't even know what they were doing. They just did it on set. Oh, this will be cool. Let's do this. That's literally what it was. There was no story idea. They didn't get. You
don't really know why he's there, do you?
No, it's stupid. But 6 has over 5 is the mask is a lot better for a start, and the atmosphere's there. The music's good. And again, there's 2 versions of 6. Take your pick. Yeah, I've actually got a cut that puts the best of both parts together, and I think that's the one I'm probably going to watch from now
on. Thinking of like me, looking more for me, more on the original because that's what I have. I do like. I think it's got a good feel to it. I think at the beginning when the girl's having the baby. Is it
baby. Yeah.
Is it Jamie?
Yeah, it's the recasted her because there was an issue with.
That's the think of the girl from 4 and 5 then.
Yeah, about older. Yeah.
Right. So she doesn't last very long, to be fair. But I do like that scene. It don't look like a hospital. Is it like a convent or something where she did with like a hospital? Because it looks a bit weird.
No, it's supposed to be like in Swiss Grove, under the.
Is it? It's a bit weird. I've never seen a hospital. Weird, yeah. But I love how Michael turns up and gets the nurse and puts her head into the.
Right. This is what I was going to mention actually. Right. I know Rob Zombie's Michael Myers is brutal. I think Michael in this is more brutal than any of the films. Like you think about some of the stuff he does, like crushes that guy's face against them bars.
Yeah.
And then you get to the scene where he kills all the doctors. That's like Texas Chainsaw Massacre level, like the reboot. Scene, oh my god!
But I find that I really like the guy who plays Michael. I think
George P. Wilby, yeah. Although the reshoots was someone else, so some of the reshoot stuff will be the Michael you like.
I think he's very, very good.
Yeah,
I think he's a very good. I think he's a very good build. And
George P. Wilby did 4 as well. So.
Oh, did he?
Yeah.
Oh, you like 4, don't you? So yeah, I think he's a good build. Is it this one? His hair on the mask is a bit more wacky.
Yeah, but I don't mind that so much. It's better. After that abomination in 5, I can go with anything.
And I just like. I think he's got a really good feel to it. I said it's Donald Pleasant's last movie as well, isn't it?
Which was a shame. And again, if you watch the producer's cut, he's actually got more scenes. And apparently, one of the producers, one of them Weinstein a-holes, said he thought Donald Pleasant was boring to cut as much of him as you can. Yeah,
he's like the main guy, man.
Well, I'm reading a book on the history of these films, and I'll tell you, mate, some of the stuff you don't want to go there. Always, Paul Rudd is kind of amazing and not amazing in this film. He goes a bit over the top at times. Like for some reason, he smiles, and Michael's. I don't know if it's supposed to be like a nervous thing. It's really weird. I think the film has got issues, but I think the film's problem was it was trying to explain what happened in the previous film, and I think from what I've heard, the original script got butchered, and that's why there's 2 so there's probably technically 3 versions of this film, but we'll never see the 3rd version because they didn't film it.
I think sometimes like when we're a lot different. It's like you look at this, that doesn't make sense, or me, I just sit and watch it and go because I'm not one to knowing all the trivia. You know a lot of the trivia. They did this.
Do you know what I will say about 6 and 6? 6 is miles better than 5. But I think if you can just kind of ignore the scripting issues, like you probably can, you kind of can just go over it. As an action, as a Michael Myers film, killing people, it's brilliant. So I like it again. I think I prefer the producer's cut because it's a bit more subtle and it's got less. It doesn't have like all this. It's like rock music and stuff. And I said to you, Danny, off air about this weird edit, something like goes meow, meow, and all this other.
Well, I like that.
I hate it. I don't mind
that.
it in the early part, but it keeps doing. There's bits where like they're talking, it just does it. I'm like, what? Why is it doing it now?
Yeah, I like that, especially at the beginning because it comes on when the film starts.
Yeah.
And I really like that. I really like that.
That's an issue for me. I kind of like that he gets the crap being out of him in the end. I think it's kind of.
Oh, he does, doesn't he? Really. And he's like.
It's a bit weird though, and he's like all like green ooze and stuff, and he's like.
Yeah, I'd like to know what that is. To be fair, because he's never had that before.
God knows.
But no, shot in the second one, not green goo coming on his hands when he picks an knife up. Yeah. So where's all the green goo come from? That's one thing I don't like about it.
When you actually look at it from a story perspective, can you kind of see why let's just get Jamie Lee Curtis back and do like a 20 years later thing? It kind of
because I think probably
it gone a bit silly on it.
It probably didn't work as much as what they wanted. I think maybe they'd run away with it or they've got ahead of themselves. Let's rein it back in now. Let's get people back on side again. Let's get Jamie Lee Curtis come in and just steady the ship a little bit. And then you sort of come into H2O then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. H2O is like.
And then it feels like another Michael Myers, Jamie Lee Curtis Halloween movie again then. And I think it loses that for maybe
absolutely,
movies, maybe.
And I think this is Halloween 2018's issue for me. This did everything first, like the bit where she's like screams Michael and that, that's like really iconic. Where you watch the new one and you're like, does something now? You're like, well, it'd been done better as well. And like, I think for me, I just pretend Resurrection doesn't exist and H towards the end. And according to what they said, in the guy who played Michael, he played the Michael in that part where he gets his head cut off. He said, as far as they knew, that was the end of it, and they were killing Michael Myers.
And maybe it should because it'd have been she killed him off.
Do you know
his head chopped off? How's he going to come back from that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And I think that'd be the way to end it.
Reboots didn't start really happening until a couple of years after Resurrection, and I think if they'd have been happening sooner, they would have just gone, oh well, we'll just wait a few years and reboot.
Yeah,
but they didn't. Back in them days, they didn't do reboots. It just want the thing. But I think this film is like a final, what is it? Final like battle between Michael and Laurie. Because this is Laurie's. I think H2O is Laurie's film, and she kind of gets revenge for 1978. It's like
she's not scared anymore, is she?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I think she's a little bit scared, but once she knows that she now has to face it,
she steps up, doesn't she? Yeah,
that's it. Yeah.
But like, there are obviously issues with the mask, and I think the way Chris Duran plays Michael is not quite right to how Nick Castle did, but it's still all right. You got that CGI mask bit because they used the wrong mask. I still don't get how they used the mask and nobody went that, before they even shot a frame like that. That don't look right.
I've never noticed.
Well, to be honest, it's not a big deal because one of my favourite parts of the film is the opening in Haddonfield. It's not even Haddonfield, actually, is it? It's like somewhere near Haddonfield. But it feels like the old Halloween, and I feel like what H2O does well is it kind of takes you into a new kind of setting for Michael, and I think it was time because, like, how many times can you be in Haddonfield? You actually think about it. If you're going to keep doing them, you've kind of got to go somewhere else eventually, haven't you?
Yeah, it's interesting because he sort of follows suit, doesn't he, to this school. And they go on a trip, don't they? So, the kids go on a trip, don't they? But they stay.
But I the music in H2O is great as well. Like, there's some of it's not. I know the guy who did the score got screwed over, but there's never here nor there. There's always issues with these films, but. Like I say, just as a final battle between Laurie and Michael, and the ending which chucks it and it does the old theme from the original, and it's got the the sound.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just a bit.
You missed
so for
that,
me,
don't you?
I always take 1, 2, and H2O as like the best Halloween trilogy. That's like the trilogy.
Yeah, because it has the best movies have Laurie Strode in. So
they do. It's no danger. Well, Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie Strode, yeah.
Yeah.
But then you get to Resurrection.
Didn't mind Resurrection, to be fair.
I actually think I like all
the worst one. I like how it's.
You got Busta Rhymes.
Yeah. Oh my God.
That bit's funny, but then when he's like doing like kung fu on him and stuff, I'm like, come on,
I just sort of think maybe it gets sillier as it goes along in the film. But I like the concept that it's a bit more. It comes a bit more modern because I can imagine you've got these like haunted houses, them haunting things where they go around looking at houses. Yeah. I like the concept of that, and I think them going around looking around these houses and stuff like that. I like.
You could have done then. You could have kept the pure ending of the first of H2O where he dies and his ghost is in the house. You could have just done that, couldn't you? And you think about it.
Could have done, but they'll never.
No, they wouldn't. No.
Do you think it's clever how they changed it round though? For like he brought the voice box of one of the paramedics. And now
he's clever but stupid. It's right. It's one of those things where I remember the first time I saw it, I went, "Whoa, I didn't expect that." But then I'm like, he's kind of daft. The guy could just take the mask off, couldn't he? But he doesn't.
Yeah, but she wouldn't know what he looks like, would she?
Well, she'd probably know if a normal guy want Michael Myers. I think she'd know. Anyway, I don't have a lot to say on Resurrection other than that. I think it's really stupid. I think it's probably one of those films you can watch and have a bit of a laugh with because you don't take it too seriously. I will say that. And again, after watching 5 the other night, 10 out of halfway, I think I'd take it over 5. So obviously, Resurrection was a massive bomb and failed.
Oh, was it not very good? Did it not do
well?
No,
it flopped big time. In fact, it made. I think the second Rob Zombie one made the same amount as Resurrection did. But
I think I'd rather watch Resurrection than that.
Yeah, I would as well, but we'll get to that. But Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 did it years later. So if you just for inflation, Resurrection probably made more than Rob Zombie's Halloween 2. But then Rob Zombie's Halloween, which I think we'll just combine these two into one for this. I just think these are the two worst Halloween movies. Like, they're just not... It's not Halloween. And that's not me being a gatekeeper. It's just not. Like, the whole concept of... I understand, and again, it's Rob Zombie's vision, fair enough, but I understand the origin. I understand wanting to kind of do the origin, but then what he did was he took away all the mystique of Michael Myers. For me, made him not scary. Even though Tyler Mane was quite good in the role because he was so physically imposing. It was almost like, well, he's just like, he's no different than like Ted Bundy or, somebody who who they are. Like, he had a bad upbringing. In fact, I don't think Ted Bundy, that's really a bad example, but there's like Jeffrey Dahmer and that had bad upbringings, killed like animals and then killed people. It's literally just that story.
Yeah, I think you look at the first Halloween movie and, the mum and dad are in suits, a really nice dress. They've been out somewhere. It seems like it's from a really posh style or really nice style home. And then you watch that and there's a drunken uncle or drunken husband or whatever.
Yeah,
it's not really them.
Just swearing all the time. Yeah. Oh,
It hits on the mother's daughter. That's a bit weird.
Yeah.
There's things in there that shouldn't really be in the Halloween movie.
Every other sentence is F this, F that.
Yeah, I think there's more promos in 5 minutes than I've heard in any film I've ever seen.
Yeah, I mean, you're right.
It
just Rob Zombie.
It takes it away. Like I said, I understand the wanting to show him from the beginning to how he. I'm not going to talk again now. You're not going to hear me again now for. Oh, don't speak then. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's weird, man.
Yeah, and and again, they sort of go for me with the mother thing. It's like a bit like a Jason style thing where he's taking what he's sort of.
Love hurts.
They're sort of going with that, like Jason always, doing.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
and I think
Psycho as well. Yeah, Psycho.
Yeah, he seems to go with that, and Mike looked like he'd been through hell with his hoodie on, and like he's gone traveling around.
Yeah, that's the second one, right? Yeah.
I think that's all you can really say about it. To be fair, I mean, I'm not.
I've had arguments online because, and I say this with all like. If you like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, great, I'm glad you like it. I think it's the worst film I've ever seen. And I know on a technical aspect, he's not like Rob Zombie, for me, his films look good. Like, visually, I think he gets, like, the look of Haddonfield, especially, like, just aesthetically as well. In the first Halloween, looks great. I think that looks brilliant. But, like, just his movies and his characters are just, you don't like anybody. Like, even Laurie, you just hate her. She's just not. you're supposed to follow this girl through it. Like Jamie Lee Curtis, Laurie, we love her, don't we? We think she's great straight away from the first one. And the other characters like Annie and all that. In this one, like Annie, who's played by, they brought back Jamie Lloyd, didn't they? Danielle Harris. She's annoying. Like that bit where she's mouthing off and going, "My dad is the sheriff" in the first one. I'm like, what? Who talks like that? It's just the white horse stuff's the worst in the second one, though, isn't it? Like,
yeah, it doesn't make
me, baby.
It just doesn't make sense. And even, I mean, is it Ronnie McDowell plays
Malcolm McDowell?
Malcolm McDowell, yeah. Malcolm McDowell, right? I liked him when I first watched it, but then I sort to really dislike it.
Yeah.
Miss Myers, he's always a bit. I just find him not that. Which is, you try to take someone who's Donald Pleasant, who's up there, and then it's difficult.
Yeah, but I think Malcolm McDowell could have been a good Loomis, but I think the problem is he's kind of they kind of want to make him like the old Loomis, but he's also a new Loomis, and you see flashes in the first one like that guy says about he doesn't know his Loomis, does he? He's talking about his book, and he goes, "I heard it was a masterpiece," because he's a bit arrogant, and in the second one he's completely arrogant, like friends to beat that woman up.
He's not like that, and he's not like that.
If I were to do a Halloween reboot, I probably would just not have Loomis now. I'd probably do something completely different, but still make it feel like Halloween. And I think the problem with Rob Zombie is, do you know what I think Rob Zombie would suit the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I think that would be right up his alley, that kind of thing. I don't think Halloween's his franchise, and I think he basically did it because he knew he could get. Because the first Halloween made like $80 million or something. It was huge. Yeah, the first one. Yeah, the second one did. The second one bombed.
Because it's not been around for so long.
But then I'm watching the second one, and I'm like, he's got this big beard, and he talks at the end. I hate you to Loomis and stuff, right?
Oh, was he? I don't remember.
Yeah, it might be in the director's cut because there's a director's cut. The best scene in the second one was the hospital scene, but even that, like, there's no Halloween music. I'm like, this does not feel like Halloween. And then that turns out to be a dream.
We were saying that in the cinema, weren't we?
Yeah.
We wanted to like that.
Yeah. The shit starts flowing, yeah.
Like in the first one, it has it when he starts his sister, but then it goes really fast. And
I don't mind.
I didn't like that.
Yeah, I don't mind. I think the music in the first one's fine. Like the music's all right. I get it. It was sort of an amped up version, but like the final chase in the first one, it's boring as well. Which isn't, and he's doing. It's just not interesting. It's just boring.
He took his mask off in that one, which I didn't. We were talking about people taking masks off. I didn't like that because he sort of just asked him to take his mask off, and he went, "All right." And I thought, no, don't.
There are moments I like the first one, like where he puts the mask on and the music kicks in, like he's under the floor. But I love that because it's like, and I remember, do you remember the trailer? The trailer was brilliant, wasn't it, for the first one?
Incredible trailer, yeah. I'm going to say the best part about the film.
Yeah.
So yeah, disappointing.
There is a fan edit of the first one on YouTube. If you're gonna watch it, I'd recommend that because it's tolerable, but it's still not a great film. But yeah,
I put
both
them way down. If anyone who's not seen them, we're not putting it in a very, very good light here.
If you like that style of film, you'll probably like it.
Yeah.
I just don't.
If you've watched the originals and you watch them, there is a major difference. And if you don't like swearing, there is other really bad scenes in it that shouldn't even. I mean, especially in the original. I don't know what it's like. I think that was taken out of the director's cut, wasn't it? I think the whole hospital scene with the girl, I think, was taken out.
Well, in the original, the theatrical version, it's like a Terminator type thing where it's a bit over the top, but it's entertaining. Like he's got all the chains on and he kills all them guards.
But with that,
rather than a weird rape scene.
Yeah.
Oh, awful. So yeah. So for me, his two films are rock bottom. Like Rob Zombie's Halloween 2 is right at the bottom, and then his Halloween next to it, and then it goes like 5 Resurrection, and then I like all the ones after that.
I don't think you could put one or two above each other. I think literally it's just as a collective.
I think two. I think 2 is far worse than 1, but I think one's terrible as well. So at least 1 had a bit of the original score, and Michael looked a bit like Michael, and there were all these scenes, that were all right. But yeah, just no, not for me. And then before we wrap up Halloween 2018, I know we've kind of got different opinions on it, but we're kind of both the same. Like I was massively disappointed in the film when I saw it. I was like, all the best parts were in the trailer. It's kind of boring. I think it is. I think it's kind of like a boring Halloween film. It's kind of like the the Superman Returns of this franchise, where it's kind of like there's some decent scenes, but it's kind of boring. You're kind of like, well, it's not that it's bad. It's just not. I'm just not really having a great time.
Yeah, I mean, you saw it in the cinema before me, and you said, "Oh, I don't know about it." And I was like, "Oh, well, if you're not fond of it, then I might not like it now." And I sort of had to go in the cinema thinking, right, let's just sit and watch it as it went on. And I just didn't like. I think I always said, like in the first one, I said, you've got to bide your time. You've got to let it run.
Yeah.
But I slowly can't. And then when he does get to Haddonfield, he's like that whole thing of, is he around? He's around. He's there. He's walking amongst everybody else. And and it just I just didn't think it was. And he goes door to door. He's never.
Do you know something else as well? I felt like Laurie's progression in H2O felt much more natural. Like whereas in this, it's more like the Linda Hamilton Terminator 2 thing, where she's kind of like she's gone a bit crazy because she thinks she's going to come back after her. Which I get, that's a valid take, but I just felt like she was kind of built for the movie. Whereas H2O, it felt more like a natural progression to me of that character. Where
she suddenly become, like you say, it's actually a very good point. Actually, to be fair, look at the sort of the Terminator 2 thing where she's like,
it's
ready.
Very similar. Yeah, and Terminator 2 is a miles better movie than this. I'm just gonna say
it's like she's ready for. It's like she's ready for a walk, and she's always saying, "Oh, he'll come back. He'll come out of hospital. He'll come back." Instead of just sort of going about, which I would like to have just gone about a normal life. Yeah, okay, because H2O, she's trying. She's still getting a bit.
Yeah, I do get having some trauma there, but I think it's just a bit too much. And then, like, for me, like, the granddaughter was interesting, but I didn't really like the mother. Like, I thought she could have killed her. I hope she dies in there, to be honest.
The hospital scene as well. When he's sort of shouting.
I like when he kicks in the music, though. The opening credits is great with the pumpkin rising. That's clever.
Yeah, I highly dislike the beginning part. I don't like when he's shouting. I like when the music comes. I like the whole credit. The music. I don't like how suddenly it just comes on instantly. And when he goes,
I kind of like that.
And soon it just goes, boom, and suddenly the music comes on. I wasn't too fond of the podcasters. I didn't like that you could see the back of him because it made him look old.
You saw him too much as well. Like when he's killing him in the bathroom stall, which is clearly a homage to H2O. That's when everyone's in this film is the homages to the sequels. I think it's too much. You can literally see his face.
He looks too old.
But again, I'm not bothered about unmasking Michael, but don't make it so Michael is unmasked. If Michael's unmasked, don't show me. If Michael gets unmasked, you can show me. If Michael's just not got the mask on, I don't want to see it. And I think there's just a few things, like I kind of think like the ending is kind of a bit like, is that it? Yeah.
I would have liked if the podcast would have gone and they'd have gone to a door and he'd have just been darkness.
Like Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah. So you can maybe just see his feet, maybe.
Instead of being out on these chains and I get what you mean, actually.
He's stood in daylight, having a look round, I'd rather see where you can't see him.
Yeah.
And then you think, because now I'm thinking, he's an old man. He's an old man going killing people.
But he is, isn't he? Because it's so many years later. But I get what you're saying.
What's the last Halloween film? He got killed. What's the next one? Halloween Ends.
Yeah.
What's he going to walk around with a walking stick killing people? He's getting old.
I tell you what bugged me as well about it. I think there's some really good bits towards the end, like when he's hiding behind the mannequins. I think that bit is fucking out. That's my French. That bit is awesome.
Clever, yeah. I think it's clever. It's clever as it goes on.
When she gets knocked off the roof and then does the disappear, I could have been okay with that, but then you have her come out of the shadows and she's like, "Happy Halloween, Michael." I'm like, that's too much, man. That's just cheesy. There's just little bits.
Like trying to make her like Michael in the end because
exactly. Role reversal, but not in a good way. Role reversal in H2O, good way. Role reversal in this, not a good way. But I didn't mind that crazy doctor, that Sartain. I actually thought that was the most interesting part of the film, where he's that obsessed. He's kind of like obsessed as Loomis was, but in a different way. Like he wants to know what makes this guy tick. It was a bit weird when he came with a mask on. That was a bit silly. But
it's like it took Dr. Loomis a long time to get a bit crazy.
Yeah.
As well as he was instantly, it was besotted by him, if that's the word. And he was like, but I just think, like you said, I think the sort of for let's take the best things out of each of the films that we've done previously, and we'll try and put it in one movie. And I think that's
there is a bit of that, but it didn't quite work. Like one of the best bits is where he does go from door to door and he like kills that. That's literally from Halloween 2.
Did you like that the way he goes door to door and killing?
Yeah, but what I didn't like was they showed the whole bit in the trailers. That's what I didn't like. I thought it was a great scene, but they showed it on the bloody trailer.
But yeah, I just found it. I found it quite boring.
It is, but the most positive thing I'll say about it is John Carpenter and his son's score in it is amazing. That score is brilliant.
Yeah.
I think what it's done though is I think it's got a lot of the beginning out of the way for Kills. Like this was like they had to kind of met this to get to Kills. I kind of think like it's going to set Kills up better, and I think we'll just talk about Halloween Kills before we finish off. So are you excited for Halloween Kills?
I am, but then I'm also a bit weird because I think again
apprehensive.
Yeah, but they've shown too many kills in the trailer.
I only watched it once.
In the trailer.
The literally showed his escape, didn't they?
And they've done it again.
Yeah.
I think it's too much now in movies. We were saying about the Avengers movie where they had to at least show something for people. Like when he's in the spaceship and he's the light come on. You were saying trailer, you're just showing someone for the sake of showing something. And I think with the Halloween one, they're showing too many deaths again. Just let it slide.
The most recent trailer that came out, they actually did hold back, and it was a much better trailer than the last one. I'm like, you should just release that one and not release that other one, because this trailer kind of teased you, but didn't ruin out the previous one.
He
seemed to kill about 7 or 8 people in the first minute.
I don't know. I don't think it. I am really, really worried. To be fair,
I'm apprehensive. I've got my expectations in check because last time expectations are through the roof and I was disappointed. But I think Kills is going to be good. My worry comes with Ends because I worry how they're going to end it. But Kills, I think, is because the way they're describing it as well. And I've known some people have had early reviews of it and liked it who didn't like the first one. Sorry, well I guess it's the first one technically. 2018. They're saying it's good. I think the flashback stuff will be really good. Because they're flashing back to 78. So I think this one's going to deliver. I think it's going to be like Empire Strikes Back, where it's going to give you that satisfying feeling.
I think for me, the problem I have is it going to be one where it's going to be too mad. By the trailer, it looks crazy, and I'm thinking, is it going to be really non-stop? Like, whoa, like you just like that.
No, I think it's non-stop, but I actually think that's a good thing because I think because of how slow 2018 was, I think it needs to be like a bit more. My personal opinion was. 2018 should have flashed back to 78. They should have done it in that one. I think they should have done it then instead of doing it now.
I'm interested to see how it's all pan out. I'm just because I love Halloween, I love Michael Myers. I don't want it to be where by that one I'm going, what they're going to do with the third one then, or how they're going to end it. Like you say, you're a bit worried about how they're going to end it. I'm worried as if I'm going to be actually interested to watch the last one.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah. But you're going to watch it, though, aren't you?
Oh, yeah, I probably will. But I'm just saying, I just think that with this one, it's going to be not rushed, but it's like you're going to see everything. And then when the third one comes, it's going to be very tame. Well, I think the last one should be the one that's the most
Yeah, but that never happens, does it? You look at like Star Wars, like Empire's like that, and then Return of the Jedi kind of winds it back. Then has the big battle at the end. I think it's just a natural thing to do that. That is one of my worries. That I got the feeling like 2 is going to be that much of an intense thrill ride. When you get to 3, it's going to slow everything back down, and it's going to be like, we'll see anyway. But
we can't. Of course, I can't complain when I said the first one was boring, and then this one's got loads of Michael in it. So I can't complain really, can you?
And something I do want to point out before we wrap up here is that I think James Jude Courtney is the best Michael Myers since Nick Castle in the first one. Like he's
the new guy, the new guy who's doing it now.
He's been working with Nick Castle does the odd scene in that. He's been working. He knows how to do Michael. You know what I mean? Like some of the Michael Myers we've seen in something like 5 and stuff. He's just not the right guy. This guy. I think he's nailed it. So, right then. So, Halloween Kills is out October 15th. I'm going to see it opening night. You're not seeing it till like a week or 2 later.
I'm seeing it the night before Halloween, so we could do a Halloween thing for it on the Sunday if you like.
On Halloween day, we'll get together for just 10 minutes. We'll have to do a quick review and see what you think of it. And so, right then. So, we'll what we're doing social media plugs because I'll put them in the description below. We did them last episode. So. Stay safe, everyone, and enjoy spooky season.